So, tell me something terrible.
This might be his sixth fizzy.
All right. Backstory. I played video games tonight with Patreon supporter Jamie.
Did you find your bike?
Big J1066. No, I'm just saying.
That was Jamie's the one that told us that joke. So I thought he would appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an oldie.
Mm-hmm. Call back.
And now I've moved my mic 47 times, so that's going to be good audio. But I had a drink, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to watch Jamie stream. And then he switched to Warzone, and I was like, well, fuck, now I'm going to play on Jamie's stream. And then you just kept bringing me drinks, and I just kept drinking said drinks and eating pistachios, which I still have.
You asked for drinks.
So yeah, maybe we're like 3 drinks ahead of our usual Monday night.
Bird's excited about it.
Yeah, she is.
She has a new sheet for those of you who care.
Last week was like the longest week of my life, so we're just doing some liquid therapy.
Oh, for those of you who care and we're following the pop-up saga, Scott and our sister-in-law,
Luda.
I
don't know if she listens. Does your sister listen?
I don't know. My
She
sister
definitely
doesn't have...
watch. Is this?
No, she doesn't have...
Is this going both places? This is going both places.
Yes. She doesn't have super good service.
Shamelessly plugging. This is on YouTube. Search us. Tell Me Something Terrible podcast.
So they don't have really good internet, and they live kind of a little bit more in the middle of nowhere than we do.
In your comments, tell me what you think of this hat. Yay or nay?
He was concerned about the hat because he shaved his head.
Don't you show my shaved head. I didn't bick it or nothing.
No.
I just took a lot off the top.
All off the top.
Yeah.
So anyway, they headed up north because he thought that having a mechanically inclined human being with him that was stronger and taller than I am would be more beneficial than making me tag along. Yes. So they did manage to get the pop-up down.
We got to, yeah. It's not a permanent pop-up.
Nope, it's a permanent down.
No.
It's a permanent pop down.
3/4 of it are fine.
It's just the one.
It's got a bad leg. It's like a sad dog. What?
Oh, no. We're going to have to make a little wheel for it?
No. It can limp. Once it loses 2 legs, then you got to get the wheel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had a dog that was almost...
Assuming they're on the same axle? Mm-hmm. If a dog lost, like opposite, like...
They should still be able to balance each other out with their...
No way a dog could run on a front left and a back right.
They could walk. I didn't say run.
There's no way a dog could run on a front left and a back right.
No, they couldn't because it's physically impossible because they let all 4 legs...
Yeah, I know.
They might be able to.
No.
Cheetahs probably would, by
they
the
could
way
run,
they run.
I feel like they would run in like a half circle all the time.
Probably.
Like they'd be like turning.
Anybody who has a dog that's missing the opposite,
front, left,
like
back,
diagonally opposite
front, left, and back, right.
and yeah, let
if
us
it's
know.
a front, right, back, left dog, nah. I got sad, but
Let's be very specific.
Mm-hmm. I just want to know if it can only go left. NASCAR, woo!
Stop. All right, so I guess we'll just...
it's been 8 minutes. I'm just kidding. It's been like 3.
Stop. We're going to officially introduce ourselves then. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
I like when you introduce the introduction.
Yes, hi, I'm Tiffany.
That's my posture. I'm Scott.
Horrible. And you're listening to Tell Me Something Terrible.
Yeah, you are. And
we are fully inebriated at the beginning of this.
This is going to be a rough Monday one. Mm-hmm. Tuesday one.
It's not. It's not a bad topic.
No.
There's only 29 people that die.
29. Okay. That's like a 14. It's like a 20 car pileup. I'm averaging 1.5 persons per car.
Yeah.
I like how you fought that stat and then you just
because I was like,
well,
there has to be one driver, but sometimes there's 2 drivers and sometimes there's 3 people.
I can tell you right now, these pistachios are not going to cut it for my long-term snack. So
there might be a pause for the cause.
100%.
Okay.
I'm going to call it in like 10 minutes.
All right.
Unless the podcast is over.
I hope not.
All right.
I have to read real fast.
Everything looks good. Go.
Okay.
Run.
So we're going to bring it back to the good old state of Michigan for this episode.
Only every other podcast.
No. The deep dive was a serial killer from Michigan, but I really can't think of one before that. That was from
Hated Cheerios. That's a cereal.
Oh,
Killer
I'm like,
joke.
I don't remember referencing Cheerios
that is like
at all.
the worst joke ever.
It was really bad.
Thank you. We're warming up.
No, I can't really remember. I don't do them that often. Often enough, we're from Michigan.
We are.
Yeah, in case you guys haven't caught on by now.
In my defense, 2 of the 4 bonus episodes have been based out of Michigan, so every other's kind of my pace.
Also, I could do a real...
Oh, I thought you were going in for a high five.
I could destroy cereal with a state of Michigan story if you would like me to.
In Battle Creek?
Yeah.
The Kellogg's?
Yes.
I don't care what you do.
I'll do it. We'll do it. Okay. I'll add it to the list. The Kellogg's.
Can we call it Cereal Shitty USA?
Yep.
Okay, I have to sit different because the mic is really close to me.
Cereal Shitty USA.
So now that
That's what we call, oh my God, I studied English too.
Foreshadowing?
Thank you. I was like, forbearance. That's not right. That's a loan thing.
I didn't study English. If you listen to the bonus episodes, you'll realize that.
Yeah, well, you listen to these episodes and you're like, did she study English?
I took creative writing in college.
I got a writing scholarship and I still fuck it up. So let's get started. So I'm going to tell you about the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is the most mysterious sinking in the Great Lakes history.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You've heard about it?
Yeah.
Vaguely?
Expedition Unknown, homie.
Ah, shit.
You need to watch them all. There's 9 seasons.
No. What did they talk about in Expedition Unknown?
I don't remember details. I remember them looking. Has it been found or no?
Yes, it has definitely been found.
Oh,
I think you might be thinking about not the Edmund Fitzgerald. You're thinking about the Civil War treasure.
No.
That was sunk in Lake Michigan. This one was in Lake Superior.
I'm thinking of, sorry, I said a pistachio. I was expecting you not to have me talk for 30 seconds.
I didn't think you'd know. So I was like, what?
They were looking for someone else's boat. A fur trader who used to push his boats up.
The reason why the Sioux Locks exist, probably.
No,
there's a lot of fur traders. Pretty much it was iron, wood, or fur. And that's the only reason why Michigan exists.
You ever heard of flight? Was it 2501?
Flight?
Flight?
If it's not the one that flew into the bridge, no.
It's the worst missing plane case in American history.
Maybe you should do that for a bonus episode.
25. It went down just off the coast of Benton Harbor.
Oh my God, we used to vacation in Benton Harbor like a dozen times a fucking summer. Like we would get bored and just drive that way.
I was flying from LaGuardia to Minneapolis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for a bonus episode regarding that flight that I don't know about.
Okay.
So anyway, this one's about a boat.
I'm on a boat.
Yep. So the 729-foot long ore carrier.
How many yards is that?
I don't know. Divide that by 3. Come on, Mr. Math.
Oh, I'm not going to do it for you. I want to watch you struggle.
No. Do you want to leave everybody hanging?
Mm-hmm.
No. Foot. 729 foot, singular foot, long ore carrier. The Mighty Fitz set sail out of Superior, Wisconsin. Thank you. I knew it would bother you enough to answer. So they set out from Superior, Wisconsin. It was weighed down with 26,116. Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
There you go. Gotta get a little cheesy.
So
Don't laugh at the bad ones. Save it for the good ones. They'll think they're all fake. Are you looking at the camera every once in a while?
I just had to break the fourth frame. That's what Deadpool does, right?
I never know if I'm supposed to look at the camera with YouTube or just act like it's not there. I just keep smashing these pistachios.
Okay. And they're not wonderful pistachios, which I could ruin along with Fiji at the exact same fucking time. No. Don't buy anything from Wonderful. Don't buy anything from Palm. Don't buy anything.
That was Cars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Detroit.
Don't buy anything from Frito-Lay. And Fiji. I think I covered pretty much a lot of them.
Shop at Aldi's.
Also, try not to buy anything from Amazon. Good luck and Godspeed.
Shop at Aldi's.
So anyway, it was weighed down with 26,116 tons of taconite, or what do you think?
It's definitely taco night. Did it crash on a Tuesday?
I don't know. I didn't look that up. I can tell you the day. You look it up real fast.
We'll get there.
So it was loaded with over 26,000 tons of taco night ore pellets, and it was headed across Lake Superior to the Sioux Locks.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So it was also headed down towards Zug Island Mill in Detroit.
What? Zug?
Zug, Z-U-G.
I don't like when you're sitting this close to me. I can read your work.
Oh, stop.
It's okay.
Stop copying me.
My hat was all like...
Stop copying me.
Copying you?
Yeah. I can't...
You're
Look,
fine.
I'm pretty sure that's why
I'm
pretty sure that's why the English teacher's side story. The English, my senior lit English teacher.
Story. Is that your ghost pepper cheese?
Yes.
Can I have a bite?
Yes. A small one. Don't take a big one. You'll burn your face off. Don't touch
that
your
one
eyes
was really
afterwards. Red. This one's don't.
I didn't touch it. That's very spicy.
Yes. Why do you think I brought? Brought the provolone out to cut it with. It's bad. It's strong.
It doesn't even taste good. It's just hot.
It is.
I feel like there's. God, it's not good.
So anyway, my Brit.
Look how red my face is.
My Brit lit teacher.
No, give me some of that shitty other cheese.
I'm pretty sure didn't like me because there was one time she caught me suggesting a synonym for someone that was writing a paper in my class, and I'm pretty sure she's hated me ever since.
Was it cinnamon for nutmeg?
Yes.
Thank you.
No, it was. She was trying to look for a word like strive, and she got told it wasn't a word, and I was like, "Bitch, yes, it is."
You need to eat
matter.
more of that. It feels like there's a lighter on my tongue. Like I like spicy food. That is just disgusting.
Why do you think I preemptively came with 2 slices of provolone?
I always come with 2 slices. It's the worst joke.
That was horrible.
Fill this 10-second gap. I'm gonna get an Oreo.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell I already told my English story. Now you're getting an Oreo. You're gonna ruin all the audio. I don't even know what the Oreos are. In the child's snack bucket. Anyway, while he's filling this, I'm going to do a preemptive plug for somebody I went to high school with who's going to start her own podcast, which she asked advice
Does she have a
about.
name for it?
Yes, it is going to be Wine and Dine and Unwind. And they're going to do snacks and wine and talk about life experiences, and I'm really excited about it.
Ooh.
Stop. There you go. I filled your 10-second voids for a preemptive plug. So if she doesn't do this, I'm going to be really upset.
Don't talk about the size of my void. These Oreos, by the way, are like 3 weeks old and don't even resemble Oreos anymore. Whoops.
And they were bought at auction, weren't they?
They're not good.
No.
But they're not spicy and terrible, so winner. All right, tell me about Edmund Fitzgerald. Who is he?
It's a family. It was named after a family. The boat.
Edmund Fitzgerald is not a family. That's a person.
It was named after the Edmund Fitzgerald, who's a husband of the family that the boat was named after.
Isn't there a singer Fitzgerald? Ella?
I don't know.
The first Google. Keep going.
That's what he's going to Google. So the Edmund Fitzgerald was headed toward the Sioux Locks.
It was Ella.
You're welcome. To Detroit. And it was also followed by the companion ship, the Arthur M. Anderson. So they had set out on November 9th, 1975, and both decided on the northern route along Lake Superior due to a huge storm cell that had started over Kansas. It was working its way north toward Michigan.
Over Kansas? That seems...
Yeah, it started in Kansas and just grew as it came between...
Canvas?
Jesus Christ. Kansas... And then grew as it moved across the Midwest. Mama Cat. If you saw her, she was the white streak that ran that direction. So the intent of going north was to try to avoid larger waves that would normally form at the southern part of the lake. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they were trying to avoid the worst part of the storm, and unbeknownst to either captain...
Captain?
I've had a lot to drink.
I like when you... At the beginning of the episode, are like, he's had a bunch of drink. And then you're like, I can't say words.
I'm only about a half a drink behind him, and I am about half his size. Whoa. Anyway, the intent was to avoid the larger waves and the worst of the storm, but unbeknownst to either captain, the pair were headed into the thick of the storm. With the storm it wound up producing an average of 25-foot waves and wind... Swells. I wrote swells, but I decided to change it because I felt like I used it a lot. And there were wind gusts reaching the equivalency of a small hurricane at 90 miles per hour. After one last communication between Captain McSorley of the Fitzgerald and Captain Cooper of the Anderson, the Fitzgerald disappeared from...
Anderson Cooper? Sorry.
No, I didn't write his first name down, but that's great. Arthur Cooper is the boat.
He's Anderson on the Cooper, though.
He's Anderson on the Cooper.
Okay, I'll remember it now.
Yep.
Sorley on the Fitzgerald.
Mick Sorley on the Fitzgerald.
Mick
yep.
Sorley, sorry, to besmirch his Ireland or his northern UK-ish.
He died, so be gentle.
I wasn't being mean. I just said his
I'm
name's
just warning you beforehand before it gets bad.
His name's McSorley. Where do you think his ancestors are from? Toledo?
Yes.
Probably.
Fuck Toledo.
Why do you hate Toledo? They gave us the UP. They were our bartering chip for the UP.
Sure. I don't get it.
What?
I know they were like going to war to try to win the Toledo Strip, and at some point there was some weird land agreement that gave us the UP, but like I don't understand how the fuck.
Proceed, Anderson Cooper.
Anyway, so the Fitzgerald.
If we call this Anderson Cooper's Taco Tuesday, how many people will be super confused?
All of the United States.
Good.
There wasn't a single eye roll.
Why? Also, I can't move the camera. Why is your cheese on my keyboard? Will you please move it but your plate?
Because I'm intoxicated.
It looked like when people would throw cheese on their cats.
Bologna on the cats.
No, American cheese singles. Just.
I haven't seen the cheese singles.
Oh, well, that's what it looked like on my poor keyboard. Now there's grease marks. Anyway, proceed.
So anyway, the Fitzgerald disappeared from radar at 7:15 from the Anderson's radar at 7:15 p.m. November 10th. It sunk below the waves of Lake Superior, plummeting 535 feet. 1975.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's Edmund Fitzgerald Day.
November 10th?
That's what came up.
Okay. Yeah, they celebrated up in the UP.
Why won't it tell me what day of the year it is?
Because you're looking at the wrong calendar. Anyway, it had plummeted 535 feet below the surface, split in two, coming to rest in a muddy lake bed with all 29 of her crew perishing. Here one moment, resting below the surface the next, without a single distress call made.
It was a Monday.
Damn it.
Tell you what.
So close. Couldn't you have waited 5 more hours?
A nickel back then is worth $700 today.
Probably. So there were a lot of theories about what happened to the Fitzgerald. Some will require knowledge of the short 17-year history of the boat, and some will need information gathered from a computer-generated sequence of the storm, and some will require eyewitness information from the weeks and the days leading up to the sinking.
I have none of those.
I will inform you.
Okay.
I've got a lot longer, and we're pretty far in, so hold on to your butts, guys.
You might have to take a week off again this month.
Yes. So, of course, there are conspiracy theories surrounding the sinking, like
aliens.
Aliens. And then there's like the theory that there's a Great Lakes version of the Bermuda Triangle, which I didn't find any information while I was searching because these were like not conspiracy theory sources; they were actual sources.
That was your first mistake.
I should have gone to Breitbart.
Only in your state.
Yes. So, like I said, if I felt like I was going to do, like if I wanted to do a little bit more research, but this was sort of like a last minute shift to the topic for today. So,
okay.
The Fitzgerald was only in service for 17 years before it sank. There were other ships that had sunk sort of in similar-ish fashions along the Lake Superior, and they'd been in service from like 32 to like 58 years.
Okay.
So this is a very young ship.
It's literally a teenager.
Yes. To have, plummeted. According to previous deckhands that served on the ship, there were several shoddy repairs done to the hull of the ship for damages. There are witnesses to this. The people that had repaired it at like, I don't know, whatever port it got repaired at.
Fucking duct tape everywhere.
Yes. And also the Coast Guards had like inspected the really shitty damage, and then they reported it and said that she was seaworthy anyway. So the hatches
I'm pulling you into the camera.
As long as you're not tipping me over.
Not yet.
Don't trust him.
Clip it.
So the hatches on the deck where the ore was stored were not watertight, and at least one of the hatches.
Taco night ore?
Yep, the taco night ore.
Or taco salad.
So at least one of the
Nothing for that?
No. So at least one of the hatches were either destroyed or possibly destroyed. None of them were watertight. They didn't have any watertight bulkheads, which, if you know anything about the Titanic, are important because, like, if one gets filled, it will spill over to the next one.
Watertight
and the next one
seems important on a boat.
Yes.
Just everywhere.
Yes. So also our sphincters. So the prevailing theory is either the captain and crew knew of the issue before they set sail, or the hatch doors were damaged during the storm. Either way, water was pouring into the ship. It was either done slowly and also unnoticed from the crew, or it was it happened quickly in the form of a wave. Mm-hmm. So that is the prevailing theory.
They need a bucket brigade.
Yes, they do. They have.
It would have been a Midwest bucket brigade.
They do have pumps, so it's a Midwest pump instead of a Midwest bucket.
Props to anyone who can rock a pump.
I mean,
no.
This is 100 years in the future from when that happened, so at least they managed to get a little bit, more modern technology. So either way, that's like the prevailing theory as to why the ship sunk. It just kind of got overtaken by water because of failure of like the hatch's top side of the deck of the boat. Mm-hmm. So this was concluded by the Coast Guard and this organization called the National Transportation Safety Board. Both of them sort of have different theories as to exactly how it happened, but it kind of led to the same conclusion.
Okay.
They also didn't have any, like I said, the bulkheads, they were not watertight. And then after reading through all of like these articles that I read through, I feel like it has to be some sort of like culmination of like many, many factors that sort of led to the ship taking on too much water, destruction. They also don't know if it split in half during the storm or if it split in half before it, like as it sunk and split. Mm-hmm. Because it is in two pieces sitting on the Lake Superior floor. Mm-hmm. I almost said ocean and I was like, that's not right.
It's like a tiny ocean.
It's close enough. It's very deep. I don't actually know how many feet deep the Lake Superior is.
I know Lake Michigan gets to 1,000 feet.
Lake Michigan's 2,000 feet?
Gets to 1,000 feet.
Holy, still.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lake.
Yo.
Lake Superior, I know, is deeper. That's why, but apart from the fact that it's like slightly more north, it's the reason why it's so cold. It's because it gets so deep. Google it while we're waiting.
Waiting? On. What are we waiting for?
For me to finish my story.
Are you making a pizza?
So... Anyway,
it's listening to you, by the way. I typed how deep and it filled in is Lake Superior. 1,332 feet.
Okay, so not that much deeper, like a third deeper than Lake Michigan.
Yeah, Lake Michigan's technically 922.
Whatever, close enough. So according to a tugboat captain named Bob Hom.
Bab.
Who sailed with Captain McSorley, McSorley told Bob once, quote, "I'd hate to be on the Fitzgerald in a big storm because they got it all worn out from years of overloading. And then 5 years..."
Do you know which lake is the shallowest of the Great Lakes?
Whatever one's down by Ohio that we don't count. Is that Erie or Huron?
Erie
yeah.
is 210 feet deep. Yeah, it's 700 feet shallower than the next deepest Great Lake.
Yeah, well, that's why it's Ohio's Great Lake and not ours.
Your face. Oh, I forgot. I'm bouncing things.
So anyway, Fitzgerald had mentioned not wanting to be on this boat during a storm 5 years before it sank.
Who did?
McSorley.
McSorley, okay.
Yes, the captain of the boat.
Oh, the Fitzgerald.
Yeah, was like, I'd never want to be on that. And then it happened 5 years prior.
That's what we call in literary terms foreshadowing. No?
I love you so much.
Do you? People on there can tell.
So according to Hom, they...
Who is this Hans?
Who is this Hom? They had over...
That's a Frozen reference for all you people without kids.
So they had been overloading the Fitzgerald for years, as it was touted as the Great Lakes workhorse that regularly broke cargo hauling records. Hom said that the Coast Guard kept okaying an increase of the load line, which is like how high they can load it up in the cargo hold.
Not how deep it gets when they load it.
It does affect how deep it gets when they load it.
I know. I didn't know. I assumed the load line was on like in the outside of the boat.
No.
Now,
I don't know.
Now you're questioning
I'm not 100%
yourself.
sure. All I know is that they allowed for more ore to be put on the boats. That would obviously then affect on, like, it would have an effect on how far it sank down into the water.
Mm-hmm. Either or.
Yeah. So even...
Just proceed. Don't even pause.
That was so bad. No, that was so bad, and it took me longer than it should have to it was so bad.
Blame it on the Vizzy Hearts.
So eventually they will sponsor us. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We love Canada.
They're made by Molson.
Eventually, it wound up leading the Fitzgerald to sit like a smidge more than 3 feet below the water line once it was fully loaded than it was originally intended. So yeah, I guess it affects like both ways. So it wound up sitting 3 feet lower into the water than they should, which wound up putting the top deck 3 feet closer to the water.
Mm-hmm. I got condensation on you, sorry.
So according to another former crew member named Jim Woodard,
a former seaman?
Yes. The Fitzgerald was a wet ship.
Oh, the runny wet ship?
According to the seaman.
Mm-hmm.
That she was always taking on water, the tunnels in the ship were always flooded, and the crew always had to go down and pump them out, which leads me to my next bit.
She was a big, bloated, wet ship.
Why you gotta bring bloating into this?
If you're full of water?
Okay. Fine. She's PMSing all the time.
Just wet ships all over the place.
So, there was another theory that was presented. This one is centered around a rogue wave that wound up overtaking the ship.
A rogue wave?
Yes.
Like calm seas, and there's just this one wave just burning across the water.
No, because it's not calm seas.
I know.
Yeah.
That's in my, and like the visual is like a calm lake, and there's just one wave just randomly billowing towards them all by itself.
Yes. Yeah. Mother Nature was like, fuck that ship in particular. So we'll get to rogue waves in a second. So the theory is centered around a rogue wave overtaking the ship and flooding it. And they also think that the ship was already slightly damaged from like years of wear. They also think that it had kind of slightly grounded itself on a shoal that was along its path.
A shoal?
Yeah, like a rocky bit, kind of like a sandbar, except instead of like sand that was like up higher, it's rocks.
I've never heard the term shoal.
Well, you also didn't learn how to swim until you were a teenager, so.
Have you swam on shoal before?
No, but I know what shoal is.
I know what shore is. I know what shale is.
Well, now you know what shoal is. It's like a combination of the two.
I know what a shawl is.
Not a shawl. Definitely not a shawl.
Okay.
It rode through the shawl and it covered it up for a bit because it was chilly, and then it rode around its way. Okay.
A shoal.
A shoal. So.
A shoal. Don't be an a shoal. Proceed.
Anyway, the storm that hit Lake Superior that day was initially expected to have waves that got up to about 13 to 15 feet, with wind gusts up to 57 miles per hour. In the hours before the Fitzgerald went under, the Anderson, which is the boat that was following behind by Cooper, yes, he had reported a wind gust of 86 miles per hour and a 35-foot wave. So this storm was particularly dangerous and obviously much stronger than what they were anticipating.
That's a big wave.
Yeah. So because of the odd wave pattern paired with the average 25 feet swells, typically waves from a large storm system, they traveled like north to south along the lake. In this instance, the waves were traveling from west to east. So the freighters, they were kind of like traveling like southeast, like this direction. And because the waves were heading west to east, instead of like hitting the back sides of them the way they normally would, they were hitting the starboard side. Mm-hmm. So they were coming up over.
They're hitting perpendicular.
Yes. And the waves, instead of just splashing up the back of them, wound up coming up over the top sides of the deck.
Yep.
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 So I lost my spot because I was trying to explain that to you.
You're talking
like
with
I
your
think I know what I'm
hands.
talking about. Yes.
You're like, oh, we're a visual podcast. I can do.
Doesn't matter. I do hands anyway.
Yeah.
So there's this rare phenomenon that can occur called the rogue wave, where a single or a
I've seen that in Star Wars. With Jyn Erso? No. Okay.
that was
It's underrated.
it is a good movie. I almost said Murphy because I just saw her today. Anyway, there's a rare phenomenon that can occur
Murphy,
called a rogue Murphy. A woke Murphy, where a single or like small series of like 2 to 3 waves can randomly grow 1.5 to 2 times bigger than the average waves generated by that particular storm.
Good for them.
Yeah. So they're thinking that because of the storm's average height of like 25 to 25 and a half feet tall, it could push the waves. If it was a rogue wave,
foot range.
Yeah, 37 to 52 feet.
52? Mm-hmm. Jeepers.
There was a model that was done that presented a 56-foot wave. That's almost twice as tall as our house.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, and we got a tall-ass house.
Yep.
So this theory could fit along the lines of what Captain Cooper of the Anderson had experienced. Because slightly before the Fitzgerald sank, Cooper had reported 2 huge waves that hit at approximately 6:30, and they were traveling toward the Fitzgerald about an hour before the ship sank. So it was like 40 minutes before the ship sank. Mm-hmm. He experienced these 2 ginormous waves that were larger than the 35-foot wave that he had already experienced, and they were heading in that general direction where they would just only grow in size. So Captain Cooper later made a speech saying, quote, "I've often wondered whether these 2 particular seas might have been the ones that finally did the Fitzgerald in, because they were really huge." So the day that the Fitzgerald sank, there were several transmissions between her, the Anderson that was following, an hour or so behind her, and another nearby ship. This is the frustrating part, and the part that like doesn't quite sit well with me, because they said that she went down with no warning or distress call. But if you pay attention to these conversations, like maybe y'all should have been like worried. Anyway, at 3:30 that afternoon, Captain McSorley reached out to the Anderson, informing the captain that the Fitzgerald had slowed to allow the Anderson to catch up with them. And this was due to damage that the Fitzgerald had sustained on its top side in the form of a broken fence rail and 2 vents that were either lost or completely damaged.
Okay.
So it was taking a little bit of water. Yep. The captain also asked the Anderson if they would stay with them until they'd made port at Whitefish. So Cooper, who was the other captain, asked if they had their pumps going, to which the Fitzgerald replied yes. Both of the pumps were pumping out water that was inside of the ship.
Okay.
A few moments later, the ships both received, any ship actually, really in the area, had received directions from the Coast Guard to all ships to find safe anchorage because the storm was getting bad enough to require the Soo locks to completely close.
Okay, so they're like just chuck anchor, wait it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So the next transmission was 2 hours later between a Swedish-owned ship called the Avaforth.
Aberforth?
No. Avafor.
Mm-hmm.
Close.
Was it a fishing ship?
I think it was another ore ship.
Oh.
A lot of stuff now is like ore or wood.
So it wasn't
point.
full of Swedish fish?
I don't.
No?
Sadly, I don't think so. I know, the disappointment.
They needed a marketing team. Okay.
So anyway, the Avafor had warned the Fitzgerald that the Whitefish Point beacon and lighthouse had been disabled from a power outage. So the storm was really picking up by now. The Avafor relayed that the wind by Whitefish Point was really howling and asked what the conditions were out where the Fitzgerald and the Anderson was at. So the Avafor received back a bunch of indiscernible shouting and someone yelling, yes,
waves,
panic. Yep. And then at the end of the indiscernible shouting, they heard, "Don't let nobody on deck."
Was there pirates?
No, there was water.
Don't let nobody on deck.
Look, we're from
all
Michigan.
The double negatives.
We ain't that smart. I don't know what you want from us.
Just that makes it sound like they're being invaded.
Yeah, by water.
Or aliens.
Okay.
We got a real Dyatlov Pass situation on our hands here.
So, the Avafor was then informed that the Fitzgerald had developed a bad list, which is when they're leaning.
Oh, not like Santa?
Yes, they're on the naughty list. The Swedes would...
Checking it twice.
So, they had...
Want to find out who...
They were clearly naughty.
Nice. I could not finish. I would have had to wait till December.
So anyway, they'd also reported that they had lost both of the radars and was taking heavy seas over the deck. So the water was just full on.
It's weird that they call them seas.
What else are you going to call it?
Waves.
Sure. So Captain McSorley said it was, quote, one of the worst seas he's ever been in. The final transmission happened at 7:10 p.m. that night.
It's just bubbles.
No, not yet. Almost. So the Anderson made contact with the Fitzgerald asking for their status and informing them that they were only 10 miles behind them. So the Anderson was catching up.
Nautical miles?
Yes.
I don't know what the difference is.
Me neither. Okay, so they were moving fast enough to be gaining 1.5 miles per hour on them. Stop it. No one likes you. So they let the Fitzgerald know that there was another ship about 9 miles ahead of them because the Fitzgerald they did not have...
Was this a Swedish one or they were behind?
No, this was the Anderson.
Behind.
Yep, that was their partnership. So the Fitzgerald...
partnership? Sorry, you said that and I was like, wait, is that where that term comes from?
How cute. Welcome to the wedding of Anderson and Fitzgerald. Anyway, they were relying on the Anderson for radar because the Fitzgerald's radar, had been lost. So they were letting them know that there was an obstacle up ahead of them and that they were going to be able to avoid it because it looked like it was going west. I think it was another ship.
It wasn't an iceberg.
It was no, not quite. Do we get icebergs? No, we definitely get those weird ice caves and shit that you can literally go out. No, not maybe. For sure, 100%. You can go when the lakes freeze over. Mm-hmm. There's these weird waves that create there's ones that create little balls, big balls. They're not little, they're huge. And then there's ones that create ice caves. Some AC/DC balls up in here. Yep. And then there's ones that create these weird little caves and hollows that you can walk out onto the lake and go inside of them.
Sweet.
This state is weird as shit.
Right?
Okay.
State of confusion. Don't look at me every time I make a bad joke.
You're full of them. So anyway, they said they were catching up. They told them about this obstacle that was in their way. And then Cooper, the captain of Anderson, asked how they were making out with their problem. And McSorley responded, "We're holding our own." And Cooper told him, "I'll be talking to you later." And that was the last thing anybody has ever said.
Words,
yes, to Captain McSorley.
Okay.
5 minutes later, the Fitzgerald disappeared from the Andersons' radar, and they were only 17 miles from the safety of the shores of Whitefish Bay. So it took 75 minutes before the Coast Guard could organize and send out a search and rescue because the ongoing storm was so bad. And as soon as the Anderson made port and unloaded, it was sent back out into the swelling water to search for any signs of the Fitzgerald and her crew. The day after the storm passed, the water was perfectly smooth. It was like a mirror, and there were gray skies above, which reduced the chance of light reflecting off the water, which would distort
images.
Yes.
Yeah.
For another day and a half, 2 freighters, which included the Anderson, and a pair of Coast Guard helicopters and 2 planes aided in the search for the freighter. The Fitzgerald was finally found 192 days after she sank below the cold waters of Lake Superior.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
8-ish months.
Yeah. So in 1995, a dive team retrieved the brass bell to give the mourning families in the community something to visit to sort of remember the lives lost. The resting place of the Fitzgerald has been preserved, and diving has been prohibited by the Canadian government because she sunk on like the Canadian side of the lake.
Okay.
So this was going to allow the resting place of the ship and her crew to not be disturbed. The ruins of the ship will never be further investigated because of the restriction of the diving, so it will always remain a mystery as to exactly how the Fitzgerald sank. As a direct result to the sinking of the Fitzgerald, mandatory depth finders, because they had no way to determine how far into the water they were sinking, like that the tops had, approached the top of the water.
Yeah.
Whatever. And there were also survival suits put on ships, positioning systems, emergency beacons, emergency beacons, and higher freeboard requirements. I don't know what that means. I just fucking wrote it. These were all safety rules and regulations that have been put in place, and they were since the sinking of the Fitzgerald that were linked directly back to that event. And there are also mandatory courses for sailors in damage control and vessel construction. So the story of the Fitzgerald is taught in the Michigan sailing schools, such as Traverse City Academy and the Great Lakes Maritime Academy, as like what not to do. You gonna make it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Don't call me out of my yawns, lady.
And that's the end of the sinking of the Fitzgerald.
Oh, you only said 29 people died?
Yeah.
That's all that was on the boat? Mm-hmm. How big? You said it was like 700 feet?
Yes. It was literally it was constructed to be one.
So they went back out, all those boats, and they didn't find anyone alive?
No one.
Huh. That's weird.
Well, there were waves that were 25 feet tall. Like, that's as tall as our house.
I know.
In a lake that you already said was 1,300 feet deep.
Yeah.
And it sunk so fast that they don't think that anybody had any opportunities to get life preservers on.
Or lifeboats even, or whatever
nothing.
Whatever their protocol
They found a couple scraps and stuff from them, and I think they might have taken a couple things up because of like museums that do have...
They were so worried about keeping them afloat that they didn't think about self-preservation.
Yeah. Yep. And the boat was only in operation for 17 years. And it was built to literally be within 1 foot of the maximum that was allowed to pass through the Sulaks at the time. Because now they can hold up to 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. But back like in the 70s before they updated them, we already talked about it.
It was snug.
Yeah, she was a snug fit.
This is really going to confuse people when I call this one Anderson Cooper's Taco Night. But I'm going to spell it taco, Nite.
Yes.
Spell it
all in one word.
The way the ore is. Mm-hmm. I still want to figure out what Taco Night is. Like the actual ore.
Yeah.
I'm aware of Taco Night.
Maybe it's why Uberlite exists.
Probably not.
Well, there's that one rock that I forgot the name of that literally only exists because of the ore that was being mined from the state of Michigan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like there's like a Traverse City Blue, and I think it was people from our church that were talking about it, and I was like, great, I have new rocks to look for.
Yep.
And it was from
some sort of green?
Yeah, it's from the slag.
Radioactive shit?
No, it's not radioactive. It's just, it's copper. It's copper.
All right. Anyway.
Oh, sources. So there was an article from Fox News titled "The Edmund Fitzgerald Sinking Remains a Great Lakes Mystery 40 Years Later." Quite the mouthful. Hi.
Kitty sighting on YouTube.
And so there was also several MLive articles named "What Sank the Edmund Fitzgerald?" 8 Facts Behind the Edmund Fitzgerald, Why This Tragedy Sticks with Us After 40 Years, and then The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald, Recreating the Monster Storm That Sank the Edmund Fitzgerald, and The Edmund Fitzgerald in 17 Miles to Safety. In case you guys didn't know, this was about the Edmund Fitzgerald.
It was about Anderson Cooper. I don't know who even is. So it's about Ella Fitzgerald?
Ella Fitzgerald.
The Yaz singer?
Yes.
You've never heard of Ella Fitzgerald, have you?
Nope.
All right,
which is sad.
We're going to open Spotify. Look at that kitty.
As a trumpet
my goodness,
player.
look at her. Oh,
look at her.
Him.
Boy.
Sorry, it's always her
He's so fabulous.
with the dog.
Yeah.
This is Salem
as
from
a trumpet
Sabrina the
player,
Teenage Witch.
You'd think that I would know Ella Fitzgerald.
That cat is a mini furnace. By
He
mini,
is.
I mean 25 pounds of just furry heat.
Yes.
Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for listening.
Don't you mean if you've made it this far, congratulations?
Nope. Thanks for listening. I'm ready to get out of here.
Okay, bye.
And I sniffed super hard right into the microphone.
Yep.
And there's literally fighting like cats and dogs behind us.
And there's a bird screaming.
What?
Chaos
Right.
has ensued.
Chaos. What?
Every time?
I just said chaos.
Mm-hmm.
What?
In your Sean Connery impression.
No. Hold on. Should I do the chaos thing? Give me a glass of water. I need to do it on your hand.
No.
Like Jurassic Park.
Chaos theory?
Like Jurassic Park.
You're not sexy enough.
Wow.
You got to have a little
We're
more
going to go
chest
fight
hair.
about the lack of chest hair and my not olivey skin. What? Are you going to lay with all your chest hair?
No, but I do have olivey skin. I'm offended.
Whatever. You just like olivey skin because you're vain.
Yes.
Anyway,
I'm not
thanks for
gonna lie.
listening. I want to get out of here, so you guys probably do too.
Okay.
All right. This will be, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the YouTube video will not be out Tuesday.
No.
I'm not editing this video tonight. Maybe Wednesday.
Sure.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening or watching or however you decided to torture yourself.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTPod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.
Oof, that was terrible.